No, we had a late dinner, and now we're just talking.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Hope you're talking about us.
No, we're,
Actually, we are.
Yeah, yeah.
My son's here, and we're doing. He's shooting a video on the family history.
Yeah, right.
And we were just talking about Mechanicville and how how my mother grew up, in that little area there with and how she and my dad met and stuff like that. So believe it or not, we were just talking about the whole family.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. Do you remember your grandparents?
Oh no, I never knew them.
Okay.
I never knew my grandparents because my father and my mother. That'll go off. That'll go off.
Okay.
They migrated from Italy and left their parents there.
What part of Italy do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, you know where your father's
Yeah.
from, though.
Huh?
Your father. Your father was from the northern.
Northern part of Italy, on the border of Czechoslovakia.
Yugoslovakia.
Huh?
Czechoslovakia or Yugoslovakia?
Czechoslovakia.
Uh-huh. So he spoke.
He spoke Slavish and Italian.
Yeah. But he was born
But he was an Italian.
Yeah, because he was born on this side
Yeah,
of.
yeah,
Born in Italy.
yeah. And my sister Jill was born in Italy. She was 4 years old when she came here with my mother. My father came first.
Do you know around what year that was, or
No,
no? Okay.
maybe 1900s. I don't know.
Oh.
Who knows?
We
I
tried to
think
figure
Robert knows.
We tried to figure that out. How old?
I don't even know how old he was when he came here.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you never got a chance to meet your grandmother and
No.
grandfather.
No, never knew them, but my mother had pictures.
Your father lived way up there in the northern end of Italy,
Yeah,
and your mother,
she lived near there someplace.
they must have been close by.
Yeah,
Because there's no way of traveling back then to get to know.
no, they had to be close by.
Yeah.
My father made shoes in Italy. And when he came here, he was a shoemaker. He was a cobbler.
Did he have his own shop?
No. No. Fantasis had their own shop. But my father made shoes. But when he came here, he worked in a paper mill and the railroad.
So he came here first.
Yeah.
And where did he
He migrated to Valley Falls.
Valley Falls.
That's a couple miles away.
Yeah, that's about 25 miles away from
Yeah.
Mechanicville.
Yeah.
And then when did he?
Then when my mother came, they bought that house they lived in,
In Mechanicville.
Mechanicville.
And that was, well, trying to figure out about what year that was.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's something to have to do some research on when they actually.
They paid $500 for
$500 for a two-story home.
And Aunt Gilda's home, she only paid $5,000.
Yeah.
What about when you were born? Like
I was born up there. We're up at 27 Walnut Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1920.
1920.
You were born in the house.
Yeah. In fact, so was Anthony, and Dominic was the only one born in the hospital. Aunt Gilda had all her kids upstairs from my mother's.
So.
Talk about Mechanicville. Just talk about how the city.
Mechanicville was a really small town that and looking at the book, it started developing as a village in the late mid 1800s. It was mostly made up of immigrants that came from Italy, Poland, that when they migrated, they actually kind of more or less segregated the little city into its own little area. Because I remember portions of Mechanicville that were mostly Italian, portions that were where the Polish settled. Actually, it was called Frog Island, even though it wasn't an island, but it was all within the barriers of Mechanicville. But it just seemed like back then there was a little bit of segregation as well. Probably, I think is the highest probably population-wise it ever got, maybe at its prime, was about maybe in the 50,000. Back when I was growing up, back in the late 50s and early 60s, there were two main industries there where you can work. If you, when you got out of high school, you either went to work for the paper mill, or you went to work for the railroad company. The railroad company was really big there. One of the transit stations was stationed in Mechanicville, so there was a lot of jobs working on the railroad. So, like, coming out of school, most people that stayed there mechanical, either worked in the Mechanicville and worked in the pulp and paper mill or on the railroad. But after, I remember when the paper mill closed down, jobs were really getting scarce because you had this whole mill section, and I'm probably figuring maybe 2,000 or 3,000 employees that worked there. It was a 24/7 job that they were basically out of work all at one time. They just shut right down. So a lot went to work back on the railroad, but a lot of them had to go outside mechanical areas to work to find jobs. So mechanical started just started shrinking. I remember when I went back, when I was growing up, it seemed like when we used to have to walk from here, walk to school, it took maybe 30, 45 minutes, and it seemed like a long distance. I went back about 10 years ago, and when I walked that same area, it seemed like it took 5 minutes. It's just how small it shrunk, looking at the size of it. There were a couple of high schools, really small town, city, Mechanicville. One thing I think that we were noted for in Mechanicville, we always would brag about was, and I should have looked it up, was that I believe the first Union soldier killed in the Civil War lived in Mechanicville, grew up in Mechanicville. And I'm trying to remember his name, but that was one of the little things that we used to tell other outsiders, how Mechanicville was famous for that. I never went back after that. It's been years after that. I never went back to Mechanicville and see. I went a couple of times, and my friends were still there that I went to school with, and they never moved away. So Mechanicville's, and it's continued shrinking. Everything is gone. The railroad's gone. So what's ever left there is these little retail stores. It doesn't even have a Walmart. That's how small it is. It's got a McDonald's. I remember when they built the McDonald's. It actually got a McDonald's there. Grew up there playing high school football. Rivalries were all our other little local cities around the area, and you got to know friends there from other schools. But not much to really say about Mechanicville. Outside Mechanicville, there was Saratoga is one of the highlights of that area. I don't know if you ever heard of Saratoga Raceway. On the West Coast, we have Del Mar with the racetrack, the horse races. Well, on the East Coast, Northeast was Saratoga, was horse races. And it brought, during the horse race season, it brought celebrities from all over going to the races. And actually, there was another famous spot there at Saratoga Spa. And I remember when I was growing up, they used to have summer concerts. And I was lucky to see back then in the '60s, I was lucky to see some of these bands that would play there, and now they're still on the road, still playing, and it's just amazing how for 30, 40 years that these bands stayed together. But that was one of the things Saratoga was famous for. So other than that, there's really not much around Mechanicville. North Hills Northeast, it was a good 2-hour drive from downtown Manhattan, the New York City, to Mechanicville, and about 45-minute drive away from Albany, New York, which is the capital. So that's where we grew up, in the northeast of Mechanicville, New York. So. Tell about how many brothers and sisters you have.
I have 4 brothers and 2 sisters.
So there were 6 of you
Yeah.
in the family.
No. 4, 6.
4 brothers.
Yeah. Well, I think 4 brothers and 3 girls is 7.
And 7.
And 1 was born dead, the last one.
Now, which one are you?
I'm next to the youngest.
Next to the youngest?
And Aunt Carmen was the baby.
So all your brothers are older.
Oh, yeah. Uncle Sal will be 95.
Yeah.
He is 95 today.
Oh, is he? Okay.
95 today.
So you were the next to the baby.
Yeah. Well, she had a little boy who was born dead after Aunt Carmen. That was it.
So, so you were born there. Like, what school did you go to, and like
School
a little bit of
3.
your childhood?
The pictures in here. School 3.
School 3.
Yeah.
That's what it's
For
called.
then I went to high school. The high school.
That same high school down there, Main Street?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
there a long time.
Then they built the other,
Yeah, because
The
they
other
built a new one.
not up on a hill, next door to that church. The high school was there, the church here, and then they knocked down some things.
Oh.
They built the post office.
Yeah.
And the school there. See, after that was built, then you guys went there for
Yeah, yeah.
What do you remember from your childhood? Nothing.
Nothing much.
Too much.
Hey, my parents didn't have a lot of money, but they had a lot of food because they grew their own food. My father had the yard, you remember that, next door to my mother's house, all that land?
Yeah.
Well, they used to cultivate that and grow vegetables and grape, and they had pigs, chickens, goats. That was their meat.
And they did all the dairy.
Yeah. They did all the killing too.
They did all the
Uncle Dominic helped.
So everything you grew up on was goat, cheese.
Goat's milk and goat's cheese.
And that's why you're so healthy still, growing up on.
Yeah, but you know what? I could never drink that milk. My father he loved it.
What they used to do down in the cellar,
Down the cellar,
make his own wine.
they made their own wine, Uncle Dominic and him, because they had the grape of the garden, and then they used to buy some grape. And you know what we used to do when it was first made? We used to go down and drink it because it was like grape juice.
Or before it fermented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we had everything. My mother used to buy, the man used to come around selling vegetables and fruits, and she'd buy the whole thing of bananas and put it in down the cellar, and we had a lot of food. lot of bread.
Well, a lot of kids grew up in that house.
Yeah. We had a lot of bread. And she had the oven, the big brick oven in back. And everybody used to come up and bake their bread.
Because I remember going into the house and all you can smell is fresh bread.
Yeah.
Always the smell of bacon bread, fresh breads.
Oh, all the time. I never forget one time Father Ojemic came up to bless the homes around Easter time, and my mother would have all the Easter bread cooked, you know, and laying she put it laying on an ironing board. And he used to come and he used to sit in the rocking chair and eat the bread.
Drink
It
the
was
wine and eat the
so
bread.
good, so good, that bread, oh.
Do you know anything about, well, I don't know if you want to get into Grandpa's side.
I don't know them, I don't
Yeah.
know, no.
But just like, so the point from when you, growing up, and then going to high school,
Oh, yeah.
now,
Then I went to high school, I graduated and went out for a job.
what was your first job?
My first job was sewing.
And 90 years later, you're still sewing.
I'm still sewing.
Same machine.
Same machine.
Where was it? Where did?
That machine is 65 years old.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I bought after we were married. Because I used to sew up my mother's on the treadle machine.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
No
No?
kidding.
Okay,
We
when did you?
couldn't go anywhere.
Well, that's where I'm going to get to. How did you meet Dad?
Well, my sister Jill, I was working, and I met this, I was friendly with a mechanical girl too, that worked in the same place, and they were going camping on our vacation. We had, you know, vacation. So she said, gee, Jenny, why don't you come? Because she was friendly with these two women that lived, that your father was friendly with up on Warsaw Avenue. So you know how I had to get going? My sister Jill had to tell my mother because she was coming too.
So
Otherwise,
you had a sneak.
yeah, no, I wouldn't sneak.
What do you what would you call that though? You told your mother that your other sister, your
No,
older
if
sister.
she said no, and I had no way to get there, but my sister Jill said, Ma, I'm going with them.
Mhm.
So that's why she made me go. And that's where I met your father. He used to come up with a gang of guys that knew these women up there, you know?
Where was that?
Proper's Lake House, Browns Beach.
Browns Beach. We used
Yeah.
to go to Browns Beach.
That's all.
So he used to go to Browns Beach before.
No, I couldn't go there.
No, not you. Dad used to go before.
No, he used to come up with a bunch of guys that knew these girls,
Yeah.
but he never went before.
Oh, I thought it'd be knowing the guys that
No.
went with these girls.
No,
So
he was he didn't have a car, so he had to go with somebody that had a car.
Yeah.
And there was one guy that his father ran Sicilianos, and he was the only one that had a car, so he had to take all the guys up there.
so you met at the Browns Beach, and that was just one day, right?
Yeah, but we were there all week. We were there a week.
Oh, so for the whole week
he
you were
used
together.
to come up they used to come up almost every night.
So was it just the first attraction?
Probably, I don't know.
Well, it had
I
to
don't
be.
know. Then, it seemed like he was always after me, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a good-looking guy like that, and a good-looking lady like that, I can see how they got together.
Yeah.
So when you left Browns Beach, right? You went
Yeah.
home. How long between that did Dad start courting you? Because
Right away. Right away, we were going to movies, and then we used to go to movies in Albany. We used to take a train, and we used to take he never had a car,
Yeah.
and we used to take the bus to go to Troy, to a movie. Yeah. And then,
So your mother was okay with that?
yeah, she was okay. She liked him.
Oh. I thought for a
But
while
you
one
know
time you
what?
said that.
One day she took him in the bedroom, and she said to him, "You'll be good to her, otherwise I kill you."
How old were you? You were out of
I don't
school.
know.
Were you still
I
in
was
school?
out of school.
Oh, okay. So you're no
Yeah.
longer a teenager.
No, no.
No, anyway, my picture's in there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Good.
it's you know that Paul Lopeman,
Yes.
he wrote this
He wrote the
book. Yeah, and you should try to get it. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know it is.
Yeah, I don't know where she got it.
I think the library has it now.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, yeah. No, I was working, and you know, after he used to take the same bus. He got a job in Cohoes, where I worked, but across the street. And he used to take the same bus I used to take. I never knew him.
Oh, that was before you met.
Yeah, that was before we met.
So you were on the same bus.
Yeah.
Imagine that. I wonder if he knew. I wonder if he knew you back then. And when you went up to Browns Beach, he actually got to talk to you. That he saw you on the bus. But he never.
He didn't know me. He didn't even.
Well, I know he didn't know
I
you.
was on the bus.
Well, he must have
He
known
said
you.
he didn't
He
even
said
know
he
he
didn't know you
was
were on
on
the
the
bus.
bus.
Really? So that was before the what year? That was before the war started.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So you went together for those years,
Yeah.
and then what year did the war start?
You know how Aunt Betty lived in the house next door to St. Louis?
Mm-hmm.
In that, it was 4 apartments there. And they owned the house. They bought that house, Betty and Uncle Whitey. And she lived downstairs. So one night, I used to go babysit while they could go out.
Jeannie?
Jeannie and, I used to babysit Jeannie and Judy.
Yeah.
Jeannie and Judy,
Yeah.
am I right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, Judy
Yeah.
and Jeannie.
Yeah.
They were the oldest ones.
And then there was a tenant that lived up over them. This one night, Uncle Whitey comes with Aunt Betty, and your father and I were there. We weren't married. And he said to your father, "Do you want to get married? You can have the apartment upstairs." That's how we got married. He cleaned that apartment all up. That's where I lived for a while.
Oh yeah.
Then from there, I went to over the store.
So this is
1947.
so this. I was saying, this is
1948.
This is after the war.
It's
So-
1940.
Well, yeah, you jumped you jumped ahead. So when Dad went into the army, you weren't married yet.
No, when he came back, that's how I got married. Because Uncle Whitey and Aunt Betty said you could have the apartment upstairs. But my mother was so mad because she wanted me to live upstairs over her.
Oh yeah.
But, well, we got married, and I fixed that apartment up so cute. But then it was small. So somebody moved out of the apartment up over the store. So Uncle Armin owned the building. So so we talked it over, and so we moved there. The place was
Was
big.
Robert born then?
Robert was born there. So were you.
You're doing a video?
We're doing a video.
What do you mean?
We're doing well, we got a camera and we're shooting a video.
Oh, so the girls can see it?
Yeah, we're gonna put it up on Facebook so everybody in the world can see it.
Like, that seems relevant.
Started
39.
1939 when Adolf Hitler invaded Austria.
My brother was wounded in that war.
Was he?
A lot of them, yeah. A lot of the family went to join the army and was shipped out overseas. And so happened that my father was shipped out and he was sent to Germany and decided to...
Did he volunteer or was he drafted?
Back then it was drafted. Everybody was drafted. So he was drafted in the army, and then was shipped out, went to Germany, was stationed in, I forget the name of the... Ma, do you know what city Dad was in Germany?
Huh?
You know what city? Where was Dad stationed in Germany?
I don't know.
You don't know? You don't remember? I might have written it
He
down
was in
somewhere.
France too.
Yeah, he did vacation time in France, and he would tell you some stories about France when he was there. He loved France. But he was stationed in Germany, and I'm not sure the city. It's probably have it somewhere in documentation, but he was actually a tech sergeant, E5, that was stationed in a prisoner of war facility. It wasn't a prisoner of war jail. It was just a facility where they kept some of the German prisoners. And while he was stationed there, he was a tech sergeant. Him and a friend were fooling around, and they started firing their weapons into the air. He got caught, and they busted him down to E1. So when he did finally get discharged after the war, he was discharged as an E1, honorably discharged, put it that way. He was honorably discharged because being honorably discharged as a veteran, he was still able to be buried up in the Rosecrans National Cemetery. So that was good. But he came back, and then the following stories was when he got together with and married my mother in 1949. I don't remember what she said. So, that was just what he did, his thing he did into the military. What else?
Let's see. You got trying to think.
He worked at the pulp in West Virginia, pulp and paper mill. That's actually was the name of the paper mill. Mm-hmm. And just looking at the book that my mother just got was the history of Mechanicville. And I didn't know this, that it was the largest pulp paper mill in the world at the time. And my father worked there for 28 years. Worked his way up as a supervisor, and unfortunately the company shut down. It went out of business and shut down and moved away, and he never got any kind of a pension or anything out of it. At the time when I was growing up, my father was able to get me part-time jobs there, school jobs. So we worked there during the summer vacations, and I worked there in the mill. And I think one of my positions there, I worked in the sulfur mill, chlorine and we used to have to keep the pulp going, and we would bleach it with chlorine. We did that for a couple of years until I graduated, I think for the summer. Then my father then worked out of there. He went to work with the General Electric on Watervliet Road. He worked there for the last 10 years of his working days, and he retired. He finally got to retire out of there, so he did get a pension through the GE. So we lived first in that
Yeah.
apartment over in Betty.
Yeah, but you weren't born.
Oh, okay.
No, I just got married.
So that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
So you were living there. So Robert was born in 1949.
In the over the store.
So in
Yeah.
1949, you were living above Graham's.
1950.
Who? Robert?
Robert.
Robert 50? Yeah, 50. So 1950, you moved from there over to above the store where Graham.
Yeah.
And that's where we lived for 2 years.
Yeah. Then I went. Anthony had the apartment empty, and he asked us if we wanted it. So that's where we lived all our. Well, how many years? 62.
2 years. Till I was 18 and left, and
Yeah.
Robert was 18 and left. So yeah. So y'all, I mean, that's a small community. So instead of staying there above the store, you decided to move down.
Yeah.
It was a bigger.
I wanted to be closer.
Oh,
to
you're
my
closer
mother.
to your mother.
Yeah.
And that was.
I didn't like it over the store.
No.
The apartment was nice. Yeah, it was big.
I don't
nice.
remember that.
But I didn't want to stay there.
Yeah. That must have been around 1954 or so, because I would be 2 years old.
Yeah.
So 1954.
You were
then
2 years old when we moved out of there.
Yeah.
And you know what? Dominic was 2 years old when they moved out of their place. And moved up there where they are now.
Mhm.
And you were so happy. You said, "Oh, Mommy, I am so glad you born me."
You born me.
I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was just what, seven or 8 years ago. Jeez, I remember that. It's just like it was yesterday.
That's right.
Yeah.
Then one year you got this truck with bullets, and you swallowed
You
the
swallowed
bullet.
the bullet.
So a bullet. You swallowed a bullet.
I got a.
A real one?
It was just about this big. It wasn't a real bullet. I got this tank, this army tank,
Mm-hmm.
and it shot out bullets.
Ah.
And I forget where. I think somewhere. I think you just pushed the bullet, put the bullet in the barrel, and then it just shot out. But the tank was this big, like the barrel was this big, so it wasn't these little things. And the bullet was a plastic bullet about this long.
Mm-hmm.
And I put the bullet in and tried to shoot it, try to fire it, and it wouldn't fire. So what I did is I started sucking in from the barrel to get the bullet out, and I swallowed it. And it hit and stopped right here in my throat. And my mother got on the phone to the doctor and tell him that he's swallowing a bullet. And he said, "Don't swallow it," but it was too late. By the time everything is happening, I had swallowed the bullet.
Mm-hmm.
So what the doctor said is that the only way in order to make sure that it comes out was every time I went to the bathroom, that you'd have to look at the crack
Mhm.
to see if the bullet came out. And it took probably, I think it was like 2 days, and the bullet finally came out. I digested it, and the bullet came out.
Wow.
So some of these names we mentioned, Aunt Betty, Uncle Whitey. Aunt Betty was Dad's younger sister.
Oldest sister.
Well, just younger than him.
Oldest.
Younger than him,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I think if you say older, it would have been an older one, right? So Aunt Betty, Dad's side of the family, Aunt Betty, it was Dad, Aunt Betty, Aunt Anna, then Uncle Carmy. So Aunt Betty was a couple of years younger than Dad. And they lived up on, what's the name of the street? Oh, Warsaw Avenue. Warsaw Avenue. That's where Graham had her store. So a lot of our history in the beginning of the Fusco family started back there on Warsaw Avenue. And then it continued when we moved to Saratoga Avenue. And that's just another story about growing up on Saratoga Avenue.
Now it goes on for you and Robert.
And then Robert. But what we're missing is a lot of Dad's side. Probably my brother would have more information about. Now his father came from Italy, and I'm not sure what area. If it was around, was it around?
Yeah, Robert knows.
Yeah, but was it around the Naples area? I forget the area, but Dad's father actually migrated here from Italy. The Fusco side. Dad's mother's side, the Izos, Graham was born here in the States. And their family is, the Izo family was a large family that owned a lot of property, a lot of area houses up around the Warsaw Avenue area until probably until after the war and all that started. So his side of the family was large enough that grew up and around the Mechanicville area. Dad's grandfather. What were we saying about Dad's grandfather?
He was the richest man in Mechanicville. He owned a lot of property. He was a businessman. And now, look what I'm doing, crocheting. I wish those little girls were here. Look at that.
Yeah.